Welcome, friends, family, patriots, believers, conservatives of like. Welcome to The Grid, your intersection of faith, politics, and commerce. I'm really excited about our topics today. Shaun, what are we talking about?
Well, we've got like four topics coming down from the Supreme Court.
The
They've
Supreme
been
Court.
quite chatty and deliverable recently.
It has been, and it's pretty interesting as we read some of these cases. What all you hear in the media is that this is a right-wing court. It's all, everything is dominated by the conservatives. But some of the rulings don't really lend us to believe that. In fact, I have heard that the Supreme Court often votes, I would say 8-1, 9-0, unanimous on most of the cases, these highly charged cases where you start seeing ideological lines being drawn. But there's some cases here that we're going to discuss today that were a little bit surprising. All right, Shaun. The Supreme Court ruled regarding abortion in Idaho. Are you familiar with the details of this particular case?
Spotty at best.
Well, I'll be glad to jump in here. At first, I will tell you my thoughts on this case have wavered from where I originally landed because I was hot to trot about this. Because the Supreme Court has said that abortion, the decision on abortion, is remanded to the states because it's not expressly talked about in the Constitution. Again, that was ultimately what ended Roe v. Wade. Did not end abortion, it ended Roe v. Wade. And so when I found about this abortion case in Idaho, so the backdrop of this, Shaun, is that Idaho passed probably one of the more strictest abortion or group of abortion laws in the country. Or I would like to say, not their strictest restrictions on abortion, but probably the most staunch pro-life positions. But what happened is there was this tension between whether a hospital could perform an abortion in an emergency room setting. And the Supreme Court stepped in and said, yes, they can. And there was a little bit of controversy around this case because the official opinion is not out yet, and it got leaked, and they're still kind of working through that. However, as I dove into the details a little bit more of the Shaun, here's what I came to the conclusion. The issue really is EMTALA. Now, I'm familiar with EMTALA because I come from the healthcare field. It stands for the Emergency Medical Treatment Active Labor Act. It's basically the law that says that when a patient comes to a hospital, you have to treat them and perform a qualified medical exam. You have to stabilize them before you send them somewhere else. It was really, in many ways, called the anti-dumping law. It also requires that you cannot ask a patient about their financial ability to pay, whether they have insurance or not. You can't do any of that before you've actually assessed them, stabilized them if it's possible, and treat them, or transfer them to a facility that can handle higher acuity of patients. So as I started reading into this, what really the ruling is saying is that a hospital can be required by the federal government to perform an abortion underneath EMTALA. Well, again, if you understand the EMTALA law, Shaun, I don't even consider this an abortion. The only reason this would be performed under the EMTALA law is somebody truly is in your ER and the life of the mother is at risk. I don't know how you feel about this, Shaun. I just don't consider that abortion, not in the traditional sense as a pro-lifer. How do you feel about that?
Well, for me, I would need to know a little bit more about what the circumstances are. I do know that there are circumstances where there has been a tragic, car wreck or something like that, and it's like we can save the mom, but it doesn't look like we're going to be able to save the baby. Okay. In that situation, I wouldn't consider that abortion either because you can't save them both. The doctor must always be for saving them. But if you can only save the mother, if in an attempt to save the mother, you cannot save the child, then that's not an abortion issue.
And I think that's, Shaun, why after I read this, I became less concerned about this being actually a ruling by the Supreme Court that seemed inconsistent with how they remanded or eliminated Roe v. Wade and remanded abortion decisions to the state. It's because this EMTALA law is a federal law. I mean, it's required by Medicare and, or I should say regulation. And it makes a lot of sense to me that the government was saying, oh, well, we can see how this tension would exist. I can tell you from what I know in healthcare, this situation will rarely occur. So this is not a win. This is not a win for the abortionists. This doesn't all of a sudden open the floodgates for elective abortions in the state of Idaho and rubber stamped by the Supreme Court of the United States. It's not the case at all. So once I read it,
Well,
I was like, okay, I get where they came from.
yeah, even now it's total balderdash for the excuse of, well, we're going to do this for the sake of the life of the mother. That percentage is so minuscule that it is ridiculous to even try to hide behind that as an excuse.
From a statistical significance standpoint, it's zero. It's 0% for all intents and purposes.
But they talk about it like it happens every day. You've been listening to The Grid, the intersection of faith, politics, and commerce. Till next time.
Till next time.